It's Monday morning. This is the Monday Morning Mechanic Podcast. This is the Dirt Bike Channel. There's Kyle Brotherson here, and there's my beautiful wife, Karen. Say hello, Karen.
What's up?
This is Monday Morning Podcast, Monday Morning Mechanic for Arlington, Texas. A lot of people say Dallas. Have you noticed that? Like, a lot of the racers call it Dallas, but it's not in, it's technically in Arlington, right?
Yeah.
So last year, Karen and I got to go to this race. It was super fun. This year it was a Triple Crown. Last year it wasn't a Triple Crown when we were there. Karen, can you explain to all of the listeners out there what the Triple Crown is? Let's just recap that for a second.
You want the rookie to explain it? All right. So Triple Crown is basically 3 races. So the 250 and the 450, they each have their set of 3 races. And then they take the person with the least amount of points, which if you get first place, you only have 1. So it's like golf, right? And then whoever gets the least amount of points is the overall winner for the night.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that the qualifying to get into those 3 main event races happens earlier in the day. So at a typical race, you have just, you're in the earlier part of the day, you're just trying to qualify to get into the night show, but you're still not into the main event race. You have to qualify, and they have the heats and the last chance qualifiers and stuff. With these Triple Crowns, there's more racing, but you have had to have qualified for the night show earlier in the day, and then that's just it. Then you're in the mains. And so it's just like the top 22 riders in both of the classes get to go rather than like at least 40 or more people that you'd get to see in a different race.
And the races are shorter because there are 3 of them.
Yeah, they are, but there's more racing on the track. Like some of the better racers don't like the Triple Crowns because it's more risk for them because there's more time on the track. They end up spending like 30 minutes. Like in the 450s, they end up spending like a little bit over 30 minutes of racing on the track with all of the best guys. Whereas in a different type of race, a regular week, they wouldn't have to put that many laps in, and they wouldn't have 3 different gate drops with all of the best guys. So in a normal race, you would have heat races, and you would just be basically in your heat race, you'd be up against half of the good guys. And then in the main event, you're up against all the good guys. Well, in these Triple Crowns, you have 3 different gate drops with all the best guys. And so it's good for some things because, like Karen said, the races are shorter, but it's more stressful. It's more hectic, So another thing that's different about these is the AMA allows them to prep 2 bikes and have 2 bikes there inside of the arena in case something happens to one of the bikes. Then they can just bring another bike out because there's very little time between these extremely important races, these mains. So there's main 1, main 2, and main 3 in these Triple Crowns, which is pretty cool. Something else to note is that the 250 East guys, this is the only Triple Crown they'll get. They have been doing 3 Triple Crowns a year, and the way it works out this time is the West Coast got 2 of the Triple Crowns, the East Coast only got 1, so the 250 East guys, this is their one and only Triple Crown of the year. So,
and they rocked it.
They did. And here's one thing, and I've said this before, but I would say to you, if you're not watching the 250 races, you are doing yourself a major, major disservice. Sometimes people, and I got into this in the beginning, it was like I didn't watch the 250 main events and stuff because I didn't know the names. Start paying attention because it's just like college football versus the NFL. Some of the best racing actually happens in the 250s, and you're seeing the future stars of the 450s in the 250, and just like a lot of weeks, I think, Karen, wouldn't you agree? The better and more exciting racing actually happened in the 250 classes, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. This week, when we were watching it as a family, our youngest son, Case, that was what he had pointed out. He said, hey, that was way more interesting than the 450s when we had finished the 250 race. And I couldn't agree more. There was a lot more passing, and it was more intense.
Yeah, in some ways it's because they're not quite as disciplined in their riding and sometimes in their passing. I think we've noticed that.
Polished.
I think we've noticed that this entire year is the aggressive passes have almost all of them have happened in the 250s, whether we're on the West Coast or whether we're on the East Coast. And so the 250s are super, super fun to watch. These guys are still some of the best in the world, and then it's just a ton of fun to watch them. And they're not all young guys. Like some of these guys are pushing 30. You know, like I'm not
so old.
Well, in this sport they are, you know.
I know, it's just funny to hear.
But I mean, when you start out and you're racing at 16 years old and then you could be 28, 29, you might have been in this class for 10 years. I mean, there is a way you can point out. And so Shane McElrath, and I'm not exactly sure how many it is. It's like 140 pound. I don't know. There's like a certain number of points that if you achieve that in a certain amount of time, like a 4-year window, then you quote
You're eligible.
point out. No, you become ineligible for the 250.
Oh, gotcha.
You point out of it. You basically graduate. Guys like Martin Davalos, I don't know how I think it's just because he's not very consistent, because Martin Davalos raced until he was like 61 in the 250 class, and then he finally pointed out or just graduated up.
Davalos.
But Shane McElrath is basically going to be coming out of the 250s this time because he's been in there too long and he's pointing out. Anyway, so here's how we'll just kind of give the rundown of what happened overall with the night, and as far as the final results, 1 through 5, you had Chase Sexton ended up number 1. You had Shane McElrath tied him basically last night for well, he didn't tie him. He got second place. Shane McElrath comes in second. RJ Hampshire is third. Jeremy Martin is fourth, and Garrett Marchbanks was fifth.
Our Utah guy. Woo woo.
Yeah. So let's talk about
RJ Hampshire.
Oh, go ahead. What do you have, Karen? RJ Hampshire. He ended up with third on the night. What do you have for him? He ended up with he was number 1 in the first main, 6th in the second main, and 3rd in the third main for an overall of 3rd. What do you have to tell us about RJ?
So I feel like RJ has been hanging out with Dylan Ferrandis.
Oh my gosh. Not on the same team.
They have been learning their tricks of the trade together. I don't know. He just rubbed me wrong. I didn't really love it. Not going to lie. I mean, he took out Chase Sexton in a left-hand turn. And
so it was right after
race.
The finish line in the first race. There's a left-hander right there. And what did he do? Dylan Ferrandis?
Yeah, he Dylan Ferrandis. Poor little Chase Sexton. I'm like, what are you doing? Chase comes flying off of his bike.
He didn't hit him that hard, but he did take Chase off the bike.
Yeah, it was too hard.
It
was too hard. And it
was dirty.
Ricky Carmichael was like, it was too much. And so, I don't know. And then
especially because it's like in lap 2 or 3,
yeah,
or just a few minutes into like this one main, and you take him out. So.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Chase
Sexton, it was a full-on takeout job. He just rammed the bike right in there and collided with them, just like, one of those.
Your face. If only they could see your face just now. And then he has this pursed lip and eyebrows raised all over at me. Anyways, but RJ, he goes on, and after the race, there was the post interview, and I don't know, I was completely annoyed. I don't know this kid, I don't know who he is or
it was what he said.
Much about him.
Tell him what he said.
I can't remember his exact words, so don't quote me. You're better at quoting things like that. What did he say?
He said, well, Sexton, Chase should have known I was coming right there. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it was how he said it. It was so cocky, and Chase knew he was there, but he didn't know he was going to take you out. Yeah, take him out. So.
Well, because what Chase said is that, look, I passed you clean. A couple, it was a lap before or 2 laps before. Chase had, because RJ Hampshire was in the lead, and Chase Sexton finds a place to pass him. Boom, passes him clean and without even touching him. And so Chase is like, hey. I just expect you to race me like you're gonna, I raced you. Mm-hmm. I knew you were back there, but I didn't know you were gonna be a butthole and just take me out. And so they were kind of pissed off at each other.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Which they should have been.
And so anyway, then in Chase's interview, you could tell that he was fired up. I loved it. And so what happens in the next race? Well, he wins. Chase wins. He's like, I'm going to come back.
Yeah, RJ kind of sucked it up in that one. In that second race, RJ Hampshire finished in 6th, but he was way back in 11th. I mean, he got a really bad start. But Chase Sexton is I mean, he looks like he's a more complete rider right now than RJ Hampshire. And Hampshire's a good rider, but he's going to be a little dirtier because he had another time he knocked Jordan Smith off the bike in the same place. Yeah. So in the back, it's basically the same place, same turn. Although the next time He did it with Jordan Smith. It wasn't nearly as aggressive, but Jordan Smith did get knocked off the bike. Jordan Smith had a really, really tough night. I just know. He was crashing all over. It sounded like Jordan Smith. He's number 54. He rides for Kawasaki. He had a really tough night. He was crashing in the whoops. Here's his finishes. In the main 1, he finished 4th, then 20th in main 2, and 14th in main 3. He was crashing all over the pace. In fact, he even landed on somebody. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jace Owen. Right over the finish line somewhere.
So mad.
Jace Owen kind of cuts over in front of Jordan Smith, and Smith doesn't anticipate it, and Smith lands on him in the air, and they both go down, and yeah, that was a bad deal.
He just stands there looking at him like, what in the world were you thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Shane McElrath, though. So Shane McElrath gets 2nd overall for the night. His finishes were 3-2-1, so he got better as they went. And I think right now the red plate is going to be shared by Chase Sexton and Shane McElrath. I have to eat crow because last week I said that
there's no way Chase can hold on.
Yeah, I said Shane Sexton will never get the red plate back this year, and then next week he gets it back. So he didn't take the lead, but now he has a share of the lead. They're tied in points after 2 races, and so they're both going to have the red plate next week, which is pretty cool. But Shane had a really good night. He did have a pretty aggressive pass, though, against Jordan Smith in main 1 of that 250, where he knocked Jordan Smith right off the track. Jordan Smith went up over a berm and barely was able to hold on without crashing. But that was when Karen looked at me and she's like, Shane McElrath and Dylan Ferrandis have been practicing together because look at that. They're both knocking people off the track. And this is what I'm telling you. And it was aggressive, but it wasn't like overly so. And he didn't take him out. Jordan Smith was able to ride out of it. But yeah, these guys are pushing really, really hard.
And for that one, I think Ricky Carmichael said something like, well, that's racing for you. It was a little aggressive, but everything's all good,
Yeah. You know what else was cool? So then talking about just going back to Chase Sexton, the winner from last night or Saturday night, he looked really, really good in the whoops. And something that I was just kind of keying in on now, because I've been listening to a bunch of different podcasts and different things. Apparently that Honda bike that he is on, and the Honda bike he was on last year, they had a lot of problems with that Honda. It was like a new Honda in 2019, and they just could not get it right. Like Geico Honda could not get the bike right, and the riders were all complaining about it. Of course, we're only hearing about this now because everything has to be so tight-lipped in Supercross, which is kind of annoying. Supercross and motocross, like everything is like, oh, everything's good. You don't find out until later. Then like a year later, I don't know what it is, like statute of limitations is off or something, and then we can all talk about how bad the bike sucked last year. But that's like they just couldn't figure it out, and now apparently they're really getting it figured out. If you look at the results that were happening on the West Coast, the 250 guys were having really good luck with it. Like Christian Craig, Jet Lawrence, a few other guys were having a lot of good luck with it, and apparently they've got things worked out better. And Chase Sexton's bike just looked amazing through the whoops. He kind of had this line that he was doing kind of right down the left-hand side of the whoops where nobody else was doing it. Daniel Blair mentioned that in the broadcast, that Chase kind of had this line down the left side of the whoops that was kind of like a little bit more virgin or whatever, not knocked down so much, and he was making up a bunch of time there. But I really felt like Chase Sexton he's really starting to shine. And it feels like he's made a lot of improvements over last year, and we've only seen him in 2 races. And I wonder how much of that is just that we're not watching him race Austin Fortner, because Fortner last year kind of looked like the guy that was shining, and Chase Sexton. Although I think maybe Chase was a rookie last year. Chase doesn't have a ton of, I don't know. Anyway, Chase is only like 2nd or 3rd year rider, but he had a really good night, and I was proud of him for getting that red plate back. So looked really good in the whoops. I think one other thing I wanted to mention is Jeremy Martin got 4th place overall. Jeremy ended with he had a 5.34 finish. And again, he's just coming back from, having his back broken and everything. So that's pretty fun.
That's incredible.
So it was fun to see him. I mean, how can you not like Jeremy Martin? When you hear the guy talk in interviews and when you see him, he just looks like a happy-go-lucky guy. Again, his brother, Alex Martin, races also 250s. Alex is racing on the West Coast, whereas Jeremy is racing on the East Coast. A couple of pretty likable characters. We call him J Mart and A Mart, So let's move on. Any other thoughts on the 250s, Karen?
No, I'm good.
So let's move on to the 450s. Here's how it goes. Here's how it breaks down for the night. Number 1 place goes to Eli Tomac, second to Ken Roxon, third to Jason Anderson, fourth to Justin Barcia, and fifth to Zach Osborne. So he gets a top 5 finish, which is pretty cool. Zach does. So first thing, before we actually get into the racing, big, super major bummer. Adam Cianciarillo broke his collarbone in practice.
Oh, left side.
So the rookie Adam, a guy that we've been talking about a lot, we've talked about him every time because he was the fastest qualifier for 7 weeks in a row as a rookie. I don't know if that's ever happened before. Maybe not. But then in qualifying practice, he goes out there and just misses one of these rhythm sections or whatever, and just gets pile driven into the face of one of the jumps.
Yeah.
They had like a grainy video, but because not all the cameras were rolling, or at least not on him, and so they showed it at the beginning of the broadcast. But he broke his collarbone, and I don't know what else. So
yeah, left collarbone.
So his season,
he did take ownership on it in his Instagram.
What did he say?
He said, had a crash in Q1, broke my left collarbone. Gonna have to sit this one out tonight, boys. Sucks, but it is what it is. My fault. I'll keep you guys updated on the recovery.
Yeah, so generally speaking, collarbones are like a 6-week thing. So his season is done.
That's so sad.
I mean, he might be able to come back for a couple of rounds towards the end or something, but I don't even know if he would. At that point, it might be better to just like set up for the outdoor season.
And all of like the other guys that are commenting, I just noticed, like Christian Craig, he's like, just a bump in the road, brother. And I was just telling Kyle today, I'm like, these guys are so tough. They are little. They're small. They're short. Some of them I'm taller than.
Adam isn't big. He's 6'1". He's a big kid.
But you know what I mean? Like their frames are small. Like but think back to like Marvin Muscan and his little shoulders, but they are so tough. They just get right back up and away they go. And so he's got this broken collarbone, and Christian Craig's like, it's just a bump in the road, brother. You're fine. You know?
Well, their bodies get beat up so bad that we've got a physical therapist that lives in our neighborhood. Our kids play with them all the time. And he says that he's worked with, some supercross and motocross guys, and he's just like, their bodies are just a train wreck.
Yeah.
Because they put them through so much abuse and all the crashing and whatever. And I cannot imagine. Like, I know that these guys love it and it's what they do, and they've, worked their whole lives for it, but they're going to pay for it later in life, like big time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You think about like the arthritis and
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
The other one, not to, but let's just call it now, and then we can move on. Cooper Webb had a really bad crash in Main 2, and he did a similar move to what Adam Cianciarillo did, but he just landed basically right on his back and his collar, his tailbone area, straight on the concrete. And so he had a really bad crash in Main 2. Cooper was riding really, really well, and then he had this bad crash in the second main event, and his night was done after that. I mean, that really sucks. And the other thing that sucks about it is we don't know exactly what Cooper Webb's prognosis is, but he's now at least 26 points back in the championship. And even if he can race next week, his championship hopes are basically done. And I don't think he can race next week.
I know, it's so sad too, because he's got such good talent. Like, he is a solid rider, and then he comes out super sick at the beginning of the season, like really sick. And then now this, on his Instagram, he said, sometimes you ride the bulls, sometimes you get the horns. Just left the medical examinations. He's got a hematoma with a deep bone bruising to my pelvis as well as my sacrum. Sounds really painful.
Yeah. So, and that picture was posted with him upside down on the bike before he hit the concrete. And this is the guy with the number 1 plate. So he was the champion, last year, defending champion, and hopefully he's not hurt too bad.
In a front flip.
Yeah, front flip. It was
landing on his back on the concrete.
It was gnarly.
Really.
It was gnarly, but it's a reminder of how incredibly difficult this is, what they're doing. It's incredibly difficult. I can't believe that they don't have this happening more often. Because when you're down there, I mean, you go to hit these jump faces. I've never hit anything like this. But when I've gone to track walks and when I've been down close by, these jump faces are so steep you can't even see the landing from the jump face. I mean, it's just...
Speaking of track walks, are we going to tell that story?
Yeah. You tell the story.
We gave the tease last week.
It's Dallas. It's Arlington. You tell the track walk story.
Dallas. We just got done saying it's Arlington. Yeah.
It's Jerry World. It's where the Cowboys play. Dallas Cowboys.
Yep. It's our first time there in Arlington.
This was last year, 2019.
Last year. Yep. And we were super lucky because we've got some awesome friends to give us a hookup with the track walk. And we get down there and we're standing in this line and it was cold, really cold.
It was just cold
just
in
outside.
Dallas. It was like 40 degrees.
Yeah, uncomfortable. And I wasn't prepared for that. I'm a Utah resident.
We thought it was going to be like 65.
Yeah. We get there, it's super cold. Anyway, so then we have to wait in this line or whatever. And then they file us down into this, the little, it's not little, it's actually quite large. One of those big ramps that are made of concrete and it goes underneath the stadium. And then
where all the trucks go in.
All the trucks and the food people and, all the dirt trucks. Anyway, we're just walking down there and it turns into a full-on wind tunnel with ice crystals in the air. So bone-chilling cold that I don't know if I could even speak because my jaw was just rattling so much, but I was smiling because I was so excited to go see the track walk. But it was so cold. I still get chills just thinking about how cold it was.
Yeah, I can't remember if the wind was coming in or out of the building, but with all the air that they have moving in that place, it was insane cold. And Karen's not exaggerating because we were chilly outside. It was low 40s and raining, and then you go into into the tunnel is what it is, and it was one of the coldest wind chills ever. It was just like cutting through you because it was humid.
And it was windy.
And it was just
way
like,
windy down there.
It felt like a 30-mile-an-hour wind or, 35-mile-an-hour wind of just ice. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was not fun. But that was our first track walk, I think.
Yeah.
And super fun. If you have the opportunity to do a track walk, you should go down and do it. So AC breaks the collarbone. Let's talk about, before we get to Tomac, we'll talk about Tomac in a bit.
Round one.
Let's talk about just Roczen. What'd you notice with Ken Roczen? Ken Roczen, by the way, on that Honda, the HRC Honda, he had awesome round one. In the main one, he goes number one. He wins that first main, and then he comes out in main two with a really bad start.
No, his round one, though, he was on fire. He got that good start, and he just was riding super clean and I was so excited. I'm like, this could be his night because he was the winner of the last Triple Crown. And so this is his fourth win of a Triple Crown.
Fourth win in a row.
And so I was so excited. I was rooting for him, but he didn't pull it out the second round.
Yeah, in the second main, he got a bad start, similar to what Eli Tomac did. We'll get to that in a minute. But then he just didn't really have it in that second main. He just didn't. He was just kind of falling back, which was sad to see. But then he ended up having a pretty good third main event, and so he gets second overall in the night, only behind Eli Tomac. And I thought he rode pretty good. He said that he didn't feel super well. We didn't even watch the post-race press conference. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Karen, we failed.
Slacking. We
failed.
slacking.
Because we had a different day. We couldn't watch the race until Sunday, earlier today, because we record this on Sunday night, generally speaking.
Saturday night we recorded, yeah. Oh.
No, I'm talking about the podcast. This podcast, what we're doing right now, we typically record that Sunday night, but we didn't even get to watch the race until Sunday afternoon today. Anyway, but he didn't seem like he had the best race, the best day. Ken Roczen was just saying I was kind of feeling off today physically and everything. But hey, if you're feeling off and you get second place, it's good. The only problem is he lost more points to Eli Tomac in the championship. Mm-hmm. So he's back. He's probably back like 11 points, I think, in the championship, which isn't a ton. But you gotta, that's gotta be. The problem is now he can't. Eli is kind of feeling it, and he can't be behind Eli. And that's a really tall thing to do. So Ken Roczen has his work cut out for him for the rest of the season. There's still a ton of racing to come, but it was good to see Ken kind of still battling and still in the mix.
And now Cooper Webb, he was the third place overall points. And now because he couldn't finish, because he crashed in the second
main, yeah.
So he didn't even race in the third. But because he had passed some people, he did acquire some points there, but he's now like 20 something points back behind.
He's 26 back, which basically means he's a full race back, even though he, So
Eli and Ken are going to have to crash on one of the races, and then Cooper Webb could possibly.
Yeah, but Cooper Webb's out. He's out of it. I mean, I'm not saying he's out because we don't know but what I'm saying is for championship hopes, he's not going to repeat.
Sad day.
I mean, too many things would have to happen, and that's assuming he can race next week, which I don't think he should or can. Who knows? I mean, he's a tough guy, so I wouldn't be surprised either way. But 26 points back right now is, he would need a lot of things to happen. I mean, technically, he could win, but I don't think he's going to race next week. I'm basing my assumption off he's not going to race next week, and then he'll be 50 points back.
Yep.
And then at that point, it's over. So. Here's another one before we get to Tomac. Jason Anderson. Jason Anderson was basically like the dark horse flying under the radar. In the first main, Jason Anderson gets third, and then he gets second in the second main, and then he gets fifth in the third main. Jason Anderson almost won the entire thing. If the only reason he didn't win the entire thing is because Eli Tomac passed him.
Well, and because Jason Anderson gave a hug to a camera.
Yeah, he ran into the camera at the end of main 3, but he was doing so well.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that because Anderson hasn't even won a race since, what was it, like 2018, So I think on the night, was he second on the night? Like overall? No, he was third overall on the night. But
he was about to be. That's why you were thinking that.
So he had a really good night, and it was good to see him. Also, we mentioned Zach Osborne. Zach Osborne had a really good third main event. So it was Anderson and Osborne running 1 and 2 in that last main for a lot of the race, and that was really good, So I'd like to see Zach Osborne do well and have some more stuff, has some good times ahead because he's had kind of an underwhelming start to the season. Last year his rookie season was bad because he missed most of it with a broken collarbone like AC is dealing with now. Mm-hmm. And then Zach Osborne starts out this year kind of sick for the first couple of rounds and just really behind the 8 ball, and he's finally getting things going a little bit more, and I'd like to see him continue with that stuff. So tell us as we kind of wrap this up, or at least I think we're wrapping this up. Let's talk about Eli Tomac. Like, what do you think's going on with Eli right now?
Oh, he is so excited. He's actually smiling and stuff these days. Before it was Mr. Serious. I don't really want to talk to these reporters and do these interviews, but now he's happy, which is refreshing to see. I'm not a big Eli fan per se, but he's on fire, and some people were saying that maybe the pressure of the red plate would knock him and he would falter or whatever, but because
he's been known to do that in the past.
He has been known to do that, but he's holding on. He's on 2 wheels for most of the time, so that's the big difference. And for Eli, I feel like that first round he was in like 13th or something at the very beginning. He had a super bad start, but then everyone in front of him started dropping off like flies and crashing and stuff. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 people that went down in front of him and gave him because he ended in 5th, but he easily could have been 7th.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple of good guys in front of him, like Blake Baggett that crashed. And
yeah, because I mean, that could have affected a few things, I think, with overall standing. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. If Eli Tomac gets the starts dialed, which last night, two of the three times that he lined up, he was better on the starts than he's ever been. I mean, as good as on the starts as he's ever been. If he's got starts down, he's almost impossible to beat. Like I've said before, there's only one person on the planet in the last probably 3 years that can beat Eli Tomac, even though he hasn't won a championship, and that person is him. He's the only person that can beat himself.
Hey, Ryan Dungey.
No, Dungey could only beat him when Eli Tomac was crashing. When
Piff.
When Eli's on,
we saw him a few times pass Eli.
Only when Eli forgot to button his pants. You know what I mean?
Gosh.
Like when he was having wardrobe malfunctions and stuff. Eli Tomac is impossible to pass.
Oh.
He's impossible to beat if he's on. And
Hey, speaking of wardrobes, Malcolm had a better outfit that time.
Malcolm Stewart. But I think I wrote down on my thing, Eli will fly, because here's my prediction. I want Ken Roczen to win, but I think Eli Tomac's going to get it done. And here's the reason why I think it's going to happen. Obviously, anything could happen at this point, but here's what Eli Tomac has going for him. He has never been this close. I mean, he's never led this early in the season. The only times he's ever had the red plate was late in the season, and he had to make a super huge comeback and have a ton of, good races right in a row because he had a bad start to the season. This time, he's had a really good start to the season. And I think he's got less pressure on him. I think he's riding with not so much of a chip on his shoulder. And I think he's not pushing so freaking hard. That was the thing that I said about Eli Tomac. I've said
maybe
for a long
he's
time.
listening to this podcast because at the beginning of this, you're like, well, if he dial it back a little and not ride at 99%.
Yeah, that's just it, is he needs to not ride at 100%. He needs to figure out how to ride at 90 to 95%. And it almost looks like he is right now. It doesn't look like he's trying that hard. And I think that's why he's not having the major crashes. If Eli Tomac can get away with not having one of these bad nights where he gets 12th, or the last couple of years he's had 2 nights where he's finished outside of the top 10, 2 or 3 nights, that's why he hasn't won a championship yet. Yeah. All he has to do is make sure his bad night is 4th. If his worst night is 4th or 5th, he will win this championship.
Solid, yeah.
And that's what you've got to do. You've just got to be a little bit more consistent. You don't have to win every stinking night. But he won last night in Arlington, and it was awesome. It was good to see. Like, at the end of the day, here's the thing. Eli Tomac deserves to win one of these championships. Why? Because he's got more wins than anyone else. He's got more wins than anyone in the history of the sport without having won a 450 championship. You got to realize that this is a guy that has won 250 indoor championships. This is a guy who's won multiple 450 outdoor championships. He is a champion. He knows how to do it. It's just this is the one that he hasn't done. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to get it. And at the end of the day, if I have to be dead honest with myself, 5 years from now when Eli Tomac is done, because I don't think he's going to race that many more years. I think he's going to get this one. And then he might race the outdoors. He might come back for another 2 seasons or something, but I don't anticipate that guy just running it out like Chad Reed. I don't think he will, because I don't think he wants to do that. I think he needs to get away from racing. He needs to accomplish his goals here, and maybe if he wins this one, and maybe he wants to come back and see if he can repeat, which he might be. He could. My point is, I don't see him racing deep into his 30s. I just don't see that. He's not going to be Justin Brayton. He's not going to be Chad Reed. At least I don't think. And so he's got to get it done now. And what I guess long-winded was for me to say, 10 years from now, when he's 100% done with racing for sure, I want to see him never have been able to get this one done, or would I want to have seen him get it done at least once or twice? And the truth is, I'd rather see him get it done.
Get the monkey.
Because when you've put that much work in, and you've put that much of your name on the sport, we might as well have you a champion. It would just be nice to see it, even though I haven't always been happy with his attitude, and I haven't always been happy with this or that. What I said today, I'm like, he is a heat-seeking missile.
He really did say that.
And when Eli Tomac is on, and especially with that red plate, he looks like a bloody Sidewinder missile.
Well, because when they're showing, a guy in front of Eli, and they've got the cameras down on the level of the riders, and the riders are coming towards the camera, and then you see Eli in the background, and he's not in focus of the camera, and he turns the corner. Now he's facing the camera right behind the guy that they were focused on. He really does look scary.
and he always has. And here's the thing. When Eli Tomac, I can't remember what place he was in, but he was in 5th place, and there was 5 minutes or 6 minutes to go. And I told Karen and Case, who were sitting right next to me, I'm like, I promise you Eli wins this race.
He's so dramatic on
I'm
it.
I guarantee he wins the race. I say to Case, my 9-year-old, I'm like, Case, I got $100 that says he wins the race right now.
Oh man.
And Case is like, really? What if he doesn't? Are you going to give me $100 if he doesn't? I'm like, I just know he's going to win right now. He's going to win this race. And that is the fun thing about Eli Tomac is, it's fun to watch him come through the pack. And he doesn't always do it. Sometimes he just decides he's not that interested. He's back there in 10th place, and he just stays back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the times when he's like, oh, Eli is in 5th place, and these are the names that he will have in front of him. He'll have Ken Roxon in front of him, Jason Anderson in front of him, Justin Barsha, and Cooper Webb in front of him, and you're going, well, there's 4 really good guys in front of him, and no one else would be able to make those passes. But Eli Tomac not only can do it, he does. Like any other thing, and I want some of those blue bike riders. I want like Aaron Plessinger, not Aaron. Sorry, Aaron, not you. I want Dylan Ferrandis, and now I want also Shane McElrath to watch this, because guess what? Here's this guy on a bike. He's got a number 3 on his bike, so it'll be easy for you to find him. Watch him. He can pass people without pushing them off the track. Now, we know he has pushed people off the track, because Karen's going to remind me in that last year with Ryan Dungey when he pushed Dungey off the track like 3 times. But here's the thing. He didn't try to kill him. He just pushed him off the track to try to get him to fall back. But he didn't actually murder. He didn't try to murder Ryan Dungey. The point is, Eli Tomac can pass you just like you're standing still
and not touch you.
He has this way when you're like, you're the leader, like Ken Roxon or whatever, and you're like battling forth, cat and mouse, back and forth, and then all of the sudden, like, Eli just has like an afterburner that he can turn on and pass you as if he's got a different gearing on his bike. It's like all of a sudden the whole race is happening and everyone else is in 3rd gear, and then suddenly in a turn, like, it's almost sudden like, oh, Eli Tomac made that turn in 4th gear and he just passed you. Or like you had to shift down to 2nd and he figured out a way to hold 3rd gear and pass you, and you're going, where did that speed come from?
Roxon did pass him back.
And Roxon has done that, but the point is Eli Tomac does it time and time and time again. And if it's ever going to happen, why not this year? Obviously, I want Ken Roxon to do it because I want the Cinderella story. Ken Roxon's story is incredible. The stuff he's gone through in the last few years is just absolutely just mind-boggling. The pain, he almost lost his arm, all of these things, the back-to-back injuries, the setbacks, the everything. I want it to happen for Ken Roxon, and Ken deserves to have the glory and the victory. But Eli Tomac deserves it just as much as Ken.
Just in a different way.
In a different way. And for that, I can applaud and be happy for both of them. At the end of the year, if Eli Tomac wins this championship, I will be there standing on my feet in Salt Lake City cheering him on. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a fan of this sport. I'm a fan of what they have to sacrifice to do this. And I can tell you this, I will be on my feet in Salt Lake City in person cheering and yelling at the top of my lungs for Eli if he can pull that through. I'm going to be cheering at the top of my lungs no matter who it is, but I will be clapping and I will be legitimately happy for Eli Tomac no matter what. And you know,
yeah.
hopefully it stays close. Like what we want, and I think Karen can agree, right now the best thing for this championship is for Eli and Ken Roxon to just go back and forth, cat and mouse.
Keep battling.
And just keep battling and keep us guessing. And so I want Ken to run. I want this thing to stay close the entire way. That's what we need. And all those people that think like Supercross is down because, you know, you don't have a Ryan Villapoto or a Ricky Carmichael or anything, I honestly think it's not down. I think it's more competitive than ever. All these guys I think are better than ever. I think it's harder to win races now than it ever has been. At least when I've been watching it, which is from like 2012-ish, 2013. So like 7-8 years. I think it's more competitive now than ever. Back like 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago when it was Ryan Villapoto just dominating races. This is more fun to watch than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Ryan Villapoto was awesome to watch, and I know Ricky Carmichael was awesome to watch, and I know James Stewart was awesome to watch. But right now, it's like there's more parity in this sport. And I think that's good. I mean, some people think that means the sport is down. I just think that is short-sighted viewing. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my chant. Go Ken Roxon and go Eli Tomac, and let's make this sucker memorable. Let's make it so fun to watch all the way down the line and bring that sucker home in Salt Lake. If you guys don't know, everything culminates this year in Salt Lake. Normally it culminates in Las Vegas, but this time we get the final round here in Salt Lake City.
Get your tickets soon.
We don't even have our tickets, Karen.
We're getting them this week.
We got to get them.
I'm going to just do it without you.
Okay. Make sure you get them. And let's get a babysitter for Kenzie. Let's make sure.
I need a track map, and then I'll get my tickets.
I looked for the track map last time, and I think they had it backwards. I think they had Salt Lake and Las Vegas swapped because they were showing at Salt Lake them going out of the stadium. And you cannot go out of the stadium at Rice Eccles unless they did some major renovation that I haven't known about. So that's the one reason I didn't buy them, is because the track map wasn't correct. So anyway. Okay, so that is the Monday Morning Mechanic Podcast for Arlington. It was round 8 of 17, so we are we're halfway through it. We're right there. So should be some really good racing coming up, and we're just hoping for it to be tight all the way down to the end in Salt Lake City. Karen, you got any parting thoughts?
You've just been on one. I've just been sitting here watching you. You're just rocking it over there. He gets so fired up, and I like it. Anyway. Till next week, everyone. Till next week.
Okay. Leave a single track. Thanks, guys.